ever hear that old saying, wherever you go, there you are? A few years ago, I felt like my spiritual life was a mess. I had moved away from my home church, and I had a professional life that kept me mostly focused on work most of the time. And at the time, I probably would have told you that the problem was that my spiritual life was off balance somehow. But then I noticed that this problem was actually affecting the rest of my life, like how I felt at work and how I was functioning at home. And at first, I was surprised that this thing in my spiritual life would affect the rest of my life. But then it hit me. I was surprised because I had assumed that you could make a distinction between the two, between your spiritual life and the rest of your life. But the thing is, I'm not sure you can so easily separate them. And as I worked through it, I realized that the separate compartments into which my life had been arranged was actually part of the problem. We like to live these fragmented lives, don't we? I know I think like this sometimes. I talk like it too. In my professional life or in my prayer life. As though my life is a set of puzzle pieces that I can easily detach or separate or pack away. I remember this one time my wife told me when she had been away for a little while that she was actually relieved that she had missed this thing that was happening at church, where people are encouraged to invite other people to come and attend worship services. She had said that, if she had been around, she would have felt like she's supposed to participate, but she didn't really know how to invite anybody. So she would have either ended up feeling awkward if she tried, or guilty if she didn't. And being out of town was just so much easier. But then my wife went on to say how she had been at dinner with some friends, and she told these people all the great things that were happening at our church, and how she had felt her faith growing and deepening. And I wanted to say to her, but wait a minute, isn't the same person who's there on Sunday also there at the dinner table on Friday night? I mean, I don't know about you, but there's something exhausting about living such fragmented lives. Professional life, family life, spiritual life, financial plans, ways of being with friends and colleagues and relatives, things we can talk about and things that we keep close to the chest, times when we can't show any emotion, and times when we search for intimacy, that carefully constructed public profile on some social media website, and the jarring truth we see staring back at us in the mirror from time to time. But wouldn't it be nice to be one? To be whole? To be united? The ancient Hebrew people had this way of ordering their lives around a kind of radical unity. They would say, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one." And the point isn't so much in telling God that he's one. I assume he'd know that. But it's in saying this out loud to each other over and over again. The Lord your God is one. But the old prayer, they call it the Shema, doesn't stop there. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength. And you, it says, you be one too. I mean, what if the truth is that we don't have a spiritual life? What if we just have a life? Because it seems like the God who is one calls us to be one too, to gather up the fragments of our life. Maybe they're not as fragmented as we think, or better yet, to be gathered. This conviction is at the very heart of the gospel. Jesus confronts people face to face, and he invites us to follow him with our whole selves. Because wherever we go, there we are. Jesus doesn't want part-time admirers. He wants disciples and followers. He doesn't want our spiritual lives, or our family lives, or our cultural lives. He just wants our lives. He wants us to let the supposedly watertight compartments of our lives leak, flood into each other. The thing is that somewhere deep down, we know that we weren't created to live these fragmented lives. And in Christian community, we're baptized into a new beginning, an opportunity to be made one. Because the same person who shows up on Sunday morning is also there at the dinner table on Friday night and at the water cooler on Monday morning. And this is at the very heart of this invitation thing. Invitation isn't some discrete task that we engage in sometimes. It demands all of us, all the time. Put like that, any of us might want to just pack our bags and run. But the thing is, we can't run from the question of who we are. And really, we don't have to. We don't simply switch into a religious mode and try to convince other people to change that religious part of their lives too. Because we aren't just a collection of different fragments of life, and the people around us aren't either. We're invited into the very unity of God, and there we find peace and love and justice in a place of wholeness and cohesiveness. We meet Jesus face to face as a whole person. And if all of this is true, then we're called to engage with the people around us as whole people too. Because wherever we go, there we are. I mean, it's not like only a part of us is baptized. The whole of us is immersed in the unity of God. It's not like we can turn invitation on and off, as though there are parts of our lives where we gather with family and friends and we stop being Christian. All these various pieces of our lives, Jesus wants to gather them up into one and make them better, make them full of love and peace. That's what this invitation is all about. And that's what invitation looks like. Here, the Lord our God is one, and He's inviting us to be one too.